Hey guys, so in this video we're going to talk about the Pokemon TCG, the competitive side of it, and talk about how we can use that in relation to investing to make more money. Some of these cards like Iron Hands have popped off just because they're part of the meta. What I mean by that is people have figured out how to use these cards effectively in their decks to basically win tournaments or have very strong strategy. So that's why Iron Hands, EX, the regular EX, and I believe it's a full art or a gold, they're all very expensive cards in Paradox Rift just because people need them for their decks. Same thing with Origin Form Dialga V. This thing popped off from like less than $1 up to 9 at its peak 917, and now it's down to like 570. But still, massive gains because the card became meta. People wanted it for their deck. Groudon as well. This one, it had value before it popped off. I actually really love this card. It was down to like around 23 bucks. It's really got the volcanoes in the background, the magma, just a very, I would call it a fan favorite Pokemon as well. One of my favorite legendaries. I mean, I grew up with Gen 3, so whatever. It basically went from low 20s, $55. If we look most recently, this is May 28th, which is today, 63.44, 66.19. So it's selling over $60 now. You can argue if you think this is buyouts or just people needing the card for their deck or wanting this special IR rare for their deck, but Raging Bolt, this is actually the most recent one we've seen this happen to, and it's happened really recently. I believe because Twilight Masquerade came out, and Raging Bolt can interact with some cards from Twilight Masquerade, which makes it meta. So we've seen this spike basically overnight, going from around 60 bucks up to over 100. And yesterday, May 27th, 108.95 and 113.48. So yeah, definitely just basically balloon 2x'd overnight because it's part of the meta. This is actually one of my favorite cards from Scarlet and Violet. I think it's the best card in Temporal Forces, in my opinion. I love the artwork. I've said that numerous times. So even outside of it being part of the meta, I knew it was going to have value. But because it's part of the meta now, the price has basically doubled overnight. Now, if you knew it was part of the meta, if you figured out it was going to be part of the meta, if you watched the TCG, you were watching the streams of the tournaments, or you were talking to people going to smaller events and people started using it, you could have got ahead of basically all of these, bought these cards when they were down here, and basically made over 100% pretty much instantly, right, within a couple weeks. And I'm sure these are very liquid, very easy to sell. There's tons of sales basically every day on most of these cards. People need them for their deck, so it wouldn't be hard to get rid of these. They'd be very liquid. But you need to have that knowledge about what's happening in the TCG, the meta. So that involves time and effort. You gotta obviously have to study a bit or watch and understand what's going on, at least to some degree, or be in circles, have someone to talk to where they're telling you that. But if you do that, you do put in the work, you can make a lot of money with these cards, right? Like if a card becomes meta, and this isn't people pumping it, right? Like no one was pumping the Origin Form Dialga V, but people needed the card, and it went from less than $1 up to $9. And I understand there's normally like a cheaper version that's not a full art or a V or a rare, whatever. But people want them for their decks. Apparently, it makes it easier to look for them when they're shuffling through or just to bling out their decks, whatever it may be, right? So if you know this is going to happen, you're doing the research, you can make a ton of money, and maybe a lot more of us need to start doing that, right? Pay attention to the TCG. I'm actually, just thinking about watching a tournament just to like see what it's all about, right? Like, uh, I've talked to a lot of people and they say that it's not super in depth, but I'm kind of just curious, like what the commentary side of it is like and what the viewing experience is. So I'm probably gonna watch a tournament or two in the future and just dip my feet in there and see what it's all about. But guys, I mean, like Raging Bolt EX overnight, this thing basically went from $60, and now look, it's selling over $110 at this point. If you knew this was going to happen, if you were paying attention, you could have easily bought 10, 20, 30, however many copies, right? And you'd be sitting pretty right now. So that was kind of just the whole point of this video, was to talk about this, talk about the TCG. And again, it's just another option for us, right? If we want to make more money, if we want to do better investing in this hobby, just having more knowledge about different things, right? Like I come from a reselling background. I've always kind of just resold part-time. Really got into it when I was studying at university and doing it part-time while I was finishing up my undergrad degree. But the more you learn about, right, like the more niches. Most people start off with something like video games or I don't know, like used cars or something. Cars would be, you obviously need some expertise to work with cars, but a lot of people do flip cars. It's kind of like an obvious thing to do. Same thing with video games. But if you learn more about the niches, right? Like if you learn about Japanese collectibles like Tamagotchis, or you learn about, custom old key fobs or something like that, right? Like there's tons of money to be made where most people don't really understand that it's worth something. Same thing goes with investing in Pokemon, right? A lot of people start with booster boxes. It's the obvious thing. It's a sealed product. It's kind of a no-brainer. Next up, it's like, the chase cards in a PSA 10, but you can also do ETBs. Maybe some obscure collection boxes or promos are worth getting into. But then on top of that, we can go deeper and maybe we start looking at the TCG, see which cards are meta or maybe meta, or really pay attention to see if something's breaking out and becoming part of the meta. It's just another tool for a lot of us to have, where we can utilize that in the future to make more money. Quite simply, right? Like if you had that knowledge, it's not going to be hard to go on eBay and pick the cards up really quickly. Especially a lot of sellers on eBay, they may be behind with the meta, right? So their cards are going to get bought up instantly and they're not going to know why, and they might figure it out later, right? So just again, being ahead of the curve. I've talked about this numerous times. Just try and be ahead of everyone. So that's the point of this video. If you guys want to get into that, if you do this, let me know in the comments down below, or if you have any tips for someone like me, and I'm sure there's lots of people watching that don't know too much about the TCG. If you guys have tips, where to watch the TCG, what kind of to understand about it, and the basics to kind of figure out what is going to be meta. If you have any tips at all, feel free to leave them down below. Outside that, I figured I'd just show you guys a few deals I found. They aren't smoking deals, right? PokeZone, I have bought from PokeZone before. I really like them. $139.99 Canadian for Paradox Rift booster boxes. This is like the lowest I can find right now. They include tax in this number, but you have to pay shipping at checkout. Catch a Card, they have Silver Tempest booster bundles for $32.50. You can buy these cheaper on Hobbiesville right now, but that's just because they have their 10% sale going. But after that, I mean, these are, probably going to be the cheapest place you can find in Canada. Maybe Cans and Games has them for like $32.50 or something like that. I'd have to double check. But again, I'm not affiliated with PokeZone or Catch a Card. I've just bought from them before. I really like, the effort they put in. They do a great job. So I figured I'd give them a shout out here as well. They also have Unbroken Bond Sleeve boosters, $25.99 Canadian. There's 19 left in stock. I picked a couple of these up a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, for a bit cheaper of a price, but pretty good deal. And if you want to get into some Sun and Moon cheap, whatever. And then Hobbiesville, there's a few things, right? So again, the Silver Tempest booster bundles, they are $32.95, but again, Hobbiesville is running their anniversary sale right now, so you can get 10% off everything. So it's like under 30 Canadian to get these. Next up are the Battle Styles booster boxes. They actually restocked these on Hobbiesville. They have 23 in stock, so if you want to get some, this is an insane price. Like the second lowest I could find for Battle Styles in Canada was Deck Out Gaming at $179.99 plus tax on top of that. So this is $4 cheaper, and you can use the 10% off coupon, anniversary 10, I think it is. They tell you on the page whatever it is. I believe it's anniversary 10. And, it's basically, what is that, like 175, 10%. So you're getting like 17.5 off. So after tax, it's, a really good price. I believe about 165, something like that. And then, they did restock Crown Zenith ETBs. They have 190 left in stock. They did raise the price, but even right now, if you use the 10% coupon, I believe it comes out to 48 USD. And this is the cheapest I can find online in Canada. I can't find anything cheaper. Someone said in the comments down below on one of my other videos, there's a GameStop in Toronto, and they were selling them for 62 Canadian. I'm not sure if they're still going to be there or whatnot, but yeah, you might want to check GameStop. But this is the cheapest you can find right now with the 10% coupon. I think, what was it? There was another site that had them for $67.99. Maybe it was Deckout or Cans and Games, but right now, if you use the coupon, that is the cheapest. So, those are just a few deals. I figured I'd throw them out there. The Fusion Strike Sleeve boosters sold out on the Pokemon Center. I believe that happened today or last night, something like that. Not surprising that these went. Seems like people are now buying up a lot of the auxiliary products for Fusion Strike. Figured it was just interesting to throw that in here. And just a couple news stories. We do have some IR cards released from Night Wanderer. Fracture is getting an IR rare here. Yeah, I mean, nothing too special, whatever. It's, an SVIR. And then Zorua from the Zoroark line is getting an IR as well. Pretty interesting card, nothing too crazy, but those are going to be the updates for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you have any comments or suggestions for getting into the TCG, leave them down below. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you guys want to, buy anything on Hobbiesville, I have affiliate links. Or again, if you want to buy anything from Catch a Card or PokeZone, I'm not affiliated, but they're good guys. I bought from them before, so give them a shout out. Yeah, a couple news updates from Night Wanderer. If we get anything big, like a big SIR reveal, I will put out a video specifically for that. But for now, I just figured I'd lump this all in here. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.